Hey guys, I just wanted to do my review of The Legends of Tomorrow Season 1 finale, titled Legendary. Now, I know this is coming incredibly late, and I wish I got this up sooner, but I have had a crazy last couple of weeks, so like I said, I've been very far behind on reviews I said I was going to do for other shows, as well as movies. I was going to do an X-Men Apocalypse spoiler review. I wanted to do some reviews for Game of Thrones and Fear of the Walking Dead. So, basically, I know a lot of people feel like they feel like of the three DC shows that are on the CW that this had the strongest season finale. I have to disagree with it. I say have the second strongest finale just because, well, the plot made no fucking sense, and I mean it had some really great character moments, but like I said, the plot didn't make any sense. So basically, just to summarize, Vandal Savage takes his time ship and takes the Hawks back to France, 1944, during World War II. Kendra tries to make her escape. She encounters Sergeant Rock, a minor DC Comics character. Kendra recognizes his helmet as being part of a collection of Rip's study on the Wave Rider. And so even though Kendra gets recaptured, she's able to leave a message in the helmet, knowing that Rip will find it on the time ship in the future, which he does, and the team's able to come back in time and or at least tries to rescue her during 1944, but they have to battle, Vandal Savage's forces while he's trying to get another meteorite, which is similar to the one that crash landed in 1958, and also in ancient Egypt. It turns out was Thanagarian in origin, and how he got his immortality, as well as how Hawkman and Hawkgirl got their immortality. And beforehand, the episode starts out with Rip returning the crew to May 2016 instead of January 2016, claiming that Wrinkles in Time forced him to return them 5 months later instead of to the exact date that they left. And even though they said they're not done with the mission and that they're still going to stick with him, it turns out Rip's not leaving them a choice, because when they try to touch him, it turns out he's projecting a hologram. The ship's already taking off to not only return their past selves from who they had to kidnap from, I think it was episodes 12 or 13, when they had to deal with the Pilgrim. And then of course Sarah goes back to Star City, and interestingly enough, she finds her dad in the Arrow Cave, the exact moment in which he's waiting in the Arrow Cave, and during the events of apparently Monuments Point, and the Monuments Point episode in Arrow, and also it seemed, and then that's when Detective Lance has to tell Sarah about Laurel's death, and she breaks down about it, and of course, Dr. Stein and Ray were able to build devices to draw the Wave Rider back to 2016. And once the crew gets on, Sarah just wants to kill Rip, because realizing that he always knew that Laurel was going to die, and saying that you're going to take the Wave Rider back and we're going to save my sister. Rip says that he can't, and just to get her to back off, he has to use that flashy neuralizer-like device that he used on her in the season premiere to knock her unconscious, and go to her in her study and explain to her that before he recruited her in the original timeline, she went back to help Team Arrow with Damien Dark, and that she, not only was she killed, but along with Laurel, but also their dad was as well, and that even with the Legends, apparently, or at least based on Mark Guggenheim logic, Damien Dark would be too powerful even for them, and so he has to reassure that there's nothing they can do. That he tries to, relate to her situation about how he kept going back in time to keep trying to save his family before he recruited the Legends and couldn't, and that he wouldn't, and that if he could do something, he would never wish the fate of his family upon somebody else's family, and convince Sarah that she can go on, that she's one of the strongest people he knows, and that she can carry on without Laurel. And he's right. Like, she is one of the strongest characters and one of the most badass characters in the entire Arrowverse. She's proven that since her first introduction in season 2. Now, getting back to the plot, it turns out that Stein is able to deduce that Vandal Savage plans to use the meteorites from 3 different time periods, that from 1958, 1975, and 2021, in which Thanagar and Earth were in alignment with one another, and use a ritual which involves using the Hawks people's blood as well as the meteorite to basically reset the timeline back to ancient Egypt, in which you'll be able to use this knowledge of the future to take over the planet then. If that makes sense, I guess. So it involves him making a stop at 1958, in which he bumps into his younger self and gives himself some of the Hawk's blood, and also apparently he also has some of the blood from 1975, and then he also travels to 2021 in St. Roach, I think is the city, because those are to complete the rituals in those 3 different time periods. So the episode does have a very Back to the Future Part 2 feel, because then it has characters going back to previous time periods they visited. Even though this is again where I feel like the show doesn't make any sense, because it made such a big deal about saying, oh, we can't go back to a time period we already visited because that would cause a paradox, but apparently they can in this episode, which is a huge problem in this show, with them just ignoring their own time travel rules. So basically the team splits up. Ray and Heatwave confront Savage in 1958. Sarah and Firestorm confront Savage in 75, and Rip goes to the 2021 to rescue the Hawks and help them fight off Vandal Savage's forces during that time period. And you get some like really cool like fight sequences during all those different times, and the different mini teams working in unison. And this is the first time we finally get to see basically Firestorm master his transmutation power, because he's able to because during the 1975 battle, after Sarah snaps Vandal Savage's neck in close combat, he's able to use his transmutation power to turn the meteorite into water. And in 1958, we get this badass line from Heatwave saying, "I guess you missed the news," because during the ritual, it renders Vandal Savage mortal. So that's what Sarah's able to kill him in 1975. Heatwave's able to burn him in 1958, and then of course Adam is able to shrink the meteorite before it causes any damage and and so the team regroups in 2021, and there's this kind of pretty like badass moment where Rip is shot off the roof of the building in 2021, but then he's like standing on the Wave Rider with his arms crossed, kind of like Marty McFly in Back to the Future Part 2, and they're essentially able, and basically Kendra's able to stab Vandal Savage during 2021, and when Vandal makes a taunt to Rip about not being able to save his family, he's the one who gets pissed and says never mention them again, pushes him into an electrical box and causes him to get electrocuted, and sends this huge shockwave throughout the city, but also kills him. But here's the thing I don't get. And I don't think they made it clear whether or not, at least they could have made it clear with like a sentence as to whether or not Vandal Savage, all these versions of Vandal Savage were just like time displaced versions of Vandal Savage, or just like younger versions who were just, showing up throughout history naturally. Because my immediate reaction was, if you killed Vandal Savage in 1958, he should already be dead in all the other time periods. Like, there should be no like reason for him to exist past that point in time. So I don't know if that means like, so Rip's about to make an ultimate sacrifice, takes the meteorite into space with a wave rider into the sun, leaves everybody there in 2021 in the city, presumably with no means of getting back, and he has this moment where he passes out and sees an image of his family, and he hugs them, and Gideon has this really touching moment where she says, "I don't want to die." Rip says he doesn't want to do so either, so he releases the meteorite into the sun, and time jumps back to 2021, right where he heads back into space, so is able to reunite with the team. And I don't know, it just feels like I don't know. If they were fighting the time displaced versions of Savage, then basically it just means that he succeeded in conquering the world at some point in 2166 and was traveling back to those points in time that the legends followed him to, and so they didn't really accomplish anything other than stopping the Time Masters from further meddling with time. So that's the thing about it. Like, it's not really clear, but like I said, it has these like really great character moments, like, the conversation between Rip and Gideon, the little banter between, I guess, Firestorm and Sarah when when the meteorite turns to water. She jokes about, she gets like mock annoyed about her boots getting wet, and also they have this nice moment where Rip is able to take Heatwave back in time to Central City of 2013 and say a proper goodbye to Captain Cold. And even though he didn't say the circumstances of their meeting at the bar, he just told them is that you'll always be your hero to me, and you'll be more of a hero than you'll ever know. And also, I guess, the nice character moment when Heatwave went back to, committing robberies and met with, I guess, a guy named, Chilbane, who was using Captain Cold's gun, and Heatwave killed him for killing somebody else during the escape. And Ray actually showed up as his getaway driver and said that he should keep an eye on him, in wake of, Captain Cold's death. So that was really touching. And of course, before they go back on the Wave Rider, and then of course there's this moment where Sarah gets to go to the grave and pay her respects to Laurel, and she realizes that she decides to carry on, protecting with her mission of helping her further protect the timeline. Now the Time Masters are gone, for Laurel's sake and to honor her memory. And the rest of the crew decides, and Firestorm ends up telling, Jackson was telling Stein's wife about what they've been doing, and she convinces him to go on the mission to protect the timeline and become like unofficial new Time Masters. And Hawkman and Hawkgirl decided they wanted to, now that Savage is gone, they decided they wanted to live normal lives and decided to just fly away. And first of all, I never give a shit about Hawkman, because he just felt like he was always holding Kendra back and just kind of like, forcing himself, at least not physically, onto her and just being really pushy and aggressive. And basically the one reason why I just felt like the one moment was probably during Leviathan, where we got to see in episode 13 Leviathan, where we got to see Kendra think for herself and be this kind of badass and be a planner. And it just felt like this whole season she was just defined by the relationships that she was in, and now that she's gone, she just felt like wasted potential. And hopefully we don't have to worry about any like fewer romances in season 2, especially since they're about to board the Wave Rider. Another Wave Rider shows up with Our Man on board. He introduces himself as a member of the Justice Society of America, and he tries to stop the Legends from boarding the other Wave Rider because Mick from the future sent them back in time in order to save their lives. And so it ends on that little cliffhanger, and so it makes you wonder how much of the season 2 is going to focus on time travel and how much is going to have to focus on basically like the multiverse, like the Flash did, especially given the fact that John Wesley Shipp hinted that he might be making appearances on Legends of Tomorrow since he's playing now the real Jay Garrick from Earth 3, and they've introduced the Justice Society of America on this show. So what do you think? Is there going to be more time travel or more universe hopping? And how do you guys feel? How do you feel like this season finale ranked with the Flash and Arrow season finales? How would you rank the 3 season finales? Let me hear your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and I will talk to you guys soon. Take care.